Our next speaker is the product marketing director at Legora, one of the fastest companies to grow from 1 to 100 million in ARR. He has spent the last few years at the intersection of AI and legal, translating complex technology into stories that resonate with some of the world's most demanding customers or buyers. Today, he'll share with us why the future advantage may not be in the product, but in the human relationship. Please welcome Varun Atrey.
This chart shows the performance of cloud-native software companies over the last decade. The blue line tracks against major indices like the NASDAQ, S&P 500, and what it tells you is they've been using a predictable, scalable, extraordinarily efficient playbook to scale their businesses. This playbook was the most efficient business model the technology industry has ever produced. It built most of the companies that people in this room admire. It probably built yours. And in 2026, the 4 pillars of this playbook are all being disrupted at the same time. Hi everyone, I'm Varun. I'm Product Marketing Director at Legora, and we are building the agentic operating system for lawyers. Legora is on a hyper-growth journey. We recently announced that we became the fastest growing enterprise sales company to hit 100 million ARR globally. Woo! Go Sweden! I've been at the company just over a year, and I'm very proud to have played a small part in its success. And there's some learnings that I'd like to share with you today. So, the old playbook that we just talked about, let me just spell it out. There's 4 things. A repeat business model or task that's packaged into software. That's what made it scalable. Predictable scaling costs. You could model compute, you could model margin, you could raise money on it, and you could build the business. Seat-based pricing. 1 human, 1 seat, 1 line on the invoice. And finally, PLG, a beautifully designed product that sells itself, efficient sales cycles, short procurement. It's just a wonderful playbook, right? 4 things stitched together that have just worked for the last 10 to 15 years. It was brilliant. There's nothing any one of us who's been in this industry for a significant amount of time should feel ashamed about. But the thing is, at this very moment, these 4 playbooks, these 4 core pillars of this playbook are under pressure and being disrupted in real time by AI. Let me show you why. So the first point is that your buyers do not want a repeat business process or tasks packaged into software anymore. They demand intelligence, and they want customizability. The bespoke feature that you built for your customer, for your biggest enterprise customer, is no longer, the differentiator. It's a baseline expectation from your customers. Then, predictable scaling costs. Anyone in the room running an AI product knows what I mean. Compute needs a variable. An AI agent can go off and do work for a long horizon, right? You could be spending hours on a task versus spending minutes on a simpler task. When this happens, it's very difficult for you to know how should you be predicting your costs, which has a direct impact on your pricing model. AI demands flexibility in how you price, because otherwise you end up overcharging your light users to be able to compensate for your heavier users. And this is a fundamental misalignment in how AI products are packaged. And finally, PLG. PLG can still work, but I think the product-led growth piece of it is changing. The demand on product teams is 10x higher. The bar is extremely high at this point. But what they also realize is that the product needs to be built with partnership. So you need to understand your customers' needs much, much deeper than ever before. Your product roadmap needs to be open. Your customers need to be able to feedback. These 4 core pillars are changing so quickly. And we at Legora are seeing this transformation happen in real time. So software and features, which were the primary things you used to compete on, are now becoming a commodity. A beautiful UI that we spent months building can now be vibe coded over the weekend. Really intense, compute-heavy workflows are much, much faster to be built by your competitors now. So the feature differentiation that carried companies from seed to Series B is now the floor, not the ceiling. And the moat most SaaS companies were depending on, which is the moat of being really hard to rebuild, that is evaporating in real time. Which leaves the question that every CEO and head of product is asking right now. How do you win when AI lowers the barrier for building software? I want to tell you the answer that we've arrived at. I'll start by giving a principle and then reason our way through how we at Legora approach it. So here's the answer. And it's going to sound paradoxical to what everyone is talking about right now because it's like a gold rush, more AI, more AI, more AI. But what we are finding is something actually paradoxical. Reinvest the time AI saves in the one thing it can't touch, which is human relationships. There's so much paranoia at the moment about nothing left for humans to do, but we're seeing the exact opposite at an AI native startup. What we're finding is that when software becomes easier to build, the only durable competitive advantage is for you to be able to invest your time in building deeper connections. That is our thesis. But I don't want to keep it fluffy. I don't want to keep it too high level. Let's go into the specifics. What are we actually doing at Legora to make this happen? So I think it's pretty common knowledge by now that everyone thinks that during any technological shift, there's going to be job displacement, but also there's going to be new types of roles that are created. And I can confirm that we're actually seeing a new type of role emerging at the company. Meet the legal engineer. Legal engineers, we refer to them lovingly at work as bilinguals because they speak law, they speak product. They're ex-lawyers, they have a deep understanding of how legal work is done, and they understand the structure and the dynamics of the law firms and our customers. How should the work be done? But at the same time, they also speak product. They're great at prompt engineering. They're great at evaluating the output of an AI. How do you know whether the AI is delivering on the level of quality that your customers expect if you haven't been on the other side? They host live training and onboarding sessions for our customers. And they bring learnings and feedback back to our product team to implement into the product. But this is more than just a role that's created, for a one-off. No, this requires heavy investment. It requires commitment, and it makes most B2B CFOs uncomfortable when you look at these kind of ratios, right? 2-to-1 ratio of legal engineers to salespeople. But here's the thing, just like any other role right now, the role of sales is changing. The job of a sales team is not just to sell the product anymore. It's to make sure the customer is successful. Legal engineers are our secret sauce. And every company, every type of business out there will have its own secret sauce. because they are practitioners, they're expensive, they're hard to find, and they're irreplaceable. They understand our customers' problems because they've been on the other side. And this is where the moat lies. This is the advantage that cannot just evaporate in one day. This is going to be defensible for us in the long term. The second thing that I'd like to talk about is multi-threading the room. A few years ago, I think there was an assumption that AI will compress sales cycles to the point where it's a human with a credit card, an agent comes and buys your software for you, and we all just go back home and do nothing. Well, we're actually finding the complete opposite again. What we're finding is that decisions in a law firm, a bank, any highly regulated entity is now more complex than ever. Because AI is just so fundamentally transformational, and let's be honest, quite risky as a technology, it means that you have to convince even more people than ever before. It's the risk function, it's the procurement function, it's IT, it's the users themselves. At every level of the organization, the complexity of getting customers over the line, especially when buying enterprise B2B software, is more complex than ever. A quick example. So, this is Schöner. Schöner is one of the DACH and Central Eastern European region's most prestigious law firms. We described this deal as a knife fight because it was such a competitive deal against our biggest head-to-head competitor. The deal took a long time, of course, to sign, but this is an average deal for us, so I'm not bringing up an exceptional example here. It meant us influencing every level of the organization, from the C-suite, the managing partner, innovation teams, procurement teams, down to the people and culture teams. And the reason for that was because they found, or they thought of AI as such a transformational technology, that they thought that this will change how the law firm actually operates. It took us 10 to 15 in-person visits over a 6-month period just to close the deal. And now, when we asked them at the end, why did we win? It was deep trust, collaboration, and of course, product. But then, of course, there's a valid question, right? How do you make money as a business? If you're going to be spending so much time and money on every single deal, where do you find the leverage? Well, the leverage comes from automating what we refer to as the busy work, or the work around the work, right? The creation of documents, meetings. So things like pre-call research and prep, decks and proposals, CRM hygiene, competitive intel. These are the things that we do internally that are not necessarily customer-facing. That's the stuff that you can compress using AI, which frees you up to actually focus on in-person client visits. Spend an extra hour with your client after dinner. Make sure that if there's a skeptic on this deal, you can go travel, meet with them, just for a cup of coffee and do a demo. Or meet a customer live, understand their most painful pain point, and show them how you can solve that using your product. This is the difference that you can get when you actually use the time that you're saving from using AI into something that makes a bigger impact for your customers. The last new tactic I would like to talk about is actually the oldest tactic in the book. Build a unique brand, wrap it in creativity, and then go and shout about it from the tops of every banner you can find, every billboard, every digital channel you can find. There was a time during the heyday of Google and Facebook and the whole digital marketing revolution where it really felt like brand was not going to be the differentiator that it used to be in the past. Well, I can confirm that in the AI space, where the differentiation is harder now than ever before, brand is definitely back. And I'm completely here for it. So, the 1, 2, 3 punch of brand, creativity, and distribution is here to stay, especially when we're operating in a hyper-competitive environment. Let me give you an example. So we have the most talented, attention to detail-driven field marketing team. They're responsible for creating unique, memorable, deep experiences that resonate with our prospects and customers. A great example of this is Her Council. Her Council is an event where we invite female leaders in the field of law to come and share their experiences, their perspectives, and tell us, what it's like to operate in a male-dominated industry. I love this example because it shows us how the right cause and the level of detail can really elevate something like a corporate event. And again, this takes deep conviction and belief. These events are expensive and difficult to produce. And that's the differentiator. And of course, some things never change, like great creative advertising.
Legora, the legal AI company, hired me to be the face of their brand. So, in this advertisement, my face will be displayed. Hello.
So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this talk, it's the paradox. The more AI you build into your product, the more human your GTM has to become. The old playbook built your company in the last decade. The new playbook will require something different. I hope this was inspiring for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Come up here. I'm wondering too, what would be some of the first warning signs that you should be aware of that your current system is not working and that it's time to rethink the whole way of working in your team?
Yeah, I think there's a demand from boards and from leaders right now to just move faster. And I think that will, for a non-AI native company, that becomes difficult because the change management and building new habits and new muscle memory, that takes time. So I think the red flag is when the pressure is always to just keep doing things faster, but without having a clear roadmap or plan for how to deliver on that.
Yeah. What has been the most fun about this whole exciting trip that you've been on?
Oh, it's been absolutely crazy to think about. My colleague Francesca is here in the room with me. We joined Legora last year when we were 40 people. And I remember we talked about if we hit 5 million ARR by the end of the year, it would be a great year. We hit 60.
Amazing.
And then we hit 100. And we're on track to hit 150 at the end of Q2. It's just been the most incredible journey.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad that that's happening to you. And thank you for sharing all your knowledge with us. Thank you.